Good morning, Burbs. My name is Azalira, and this is probably around like the third time I'm recording this video actually, so I'm just gonna get into it. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts and opinions on the whole story that has happened, and well, the quote-unquote ending of the, how do I say it, episode 1 of PSO2NGS, I suppose, before episode 2 starts, or Ultra Evolution, or I actually don't know what people are going to call everything. Like, is this going to just be like, oh, episode 1 is PSO2 New Genesis and then episode 2 is just PSO2 Ultra Evolution now? Or, I mean, that'll be pretty cool, I suppose. But I guess that's a problem for the future. Anyhow, like I said, I just wanted to discuss about the story and the implications of the endings and all that stuff. So, spoilers, right? Anyways, let's do this. So as I was playing through the story quest, I was just thinking to myself, like, is this supposed to be a showcase of the new creative spaces or something? Because I believe this is probably just the implications of like, hey man, this is probably what the creative spaces are going to be, and I think that's really, really cool. And also, if we can actually make the creative spaces as cool as what Zephyr did on the Lucille, whatever the name calling is. Oh yeah, by the way, please don't blame me for any pronunciation I'm about to do here, because I'm reading off the JP and then just the whole thing might actually be a little different from the localization to the global version, so I'm sorry about that. So yeah, the whole thing, blah 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 blah, and then finally you get to the end of it, and the first thing I had to just say is I was clapping my hands. I'm just like, dude, Zephyr has probably one of the coolest character designs in PSO so far that I've seen, and I really like the design. But one of the biggest issues about Zephyr's whole reveal and everything is he only appeared once in like chapter 5 and all that, and to me that is a little bit of an issue. Because while the whole reveal and everything with the whole story is like, wow, that's very cool, there are also elements of it where everyone is just like, yeah, as if we couldn't tell this was a whole experiment or test or simulation or anything of sorts with the whole alpha thing, yada yada yada. Yeah, and it kind of is, but also isn't at the same time. Now, me saying all this, I don't know how much the story was changed, I don't know how much was planned, I don't know how much was like orchestrated throughout the entire years of making it the story and recording process and all that from SEGA's side. However, I will say this much. I am a very big shonen trash fan, okay? I love stuff like Naruto, I love stuff like Bleach, and here's the thing. If you really think about all those stories, right? You think about how Naruto always had this big foreshadowing or like big storytelling about the legends of like Madara and everything like that. Very cool. Or like Bleach, they revealed Aizen super early on and then hyped him up, and then when he did his grand reveals of everything, it's like, holy crap, we would have never thought that everything would have been crazy like that. And I think these kinds of super foreshadowing, these kinds of extreme like anything that gives hype to the main quote-unquote villain characters or anything that are introduced on like the main final climactic arc or so, I just feel like Zephyr kind of falls flat on his face in that regard, even though we already have some foreshadowing of like the whole, you know, this whole thing's an experiment, yada yada yada. I feel like it doesn't give you that, you know, super hype like, oh my god, this is it, like this is the guy. But regardless of all that, I still think it's really cool. I think his reveal is cool, I think his character is cool, and I think the way he suddenly is like, okay, I'm just gonna tell you everything now, and then everything's just gonna go to shit, is also kind of a little rush, but sure, I guess. That's kind of just like how they have to continue the story, right? But it also keeps us, the viewers, and the players a little bit on the edge of our seats, which is fine. My other problem with them doing that kind of ending to the whole reveal, and Zephyr's just like, whoop, my people need me, I'm gonna go now, the rest is up to you guys, cause I just met you and I'm gonna tell you everything, and yeah, everything just happened in like 8 minutes, and then I guess he died, question mark? And then everyone's just like, alright, we're gonna go back to Alpha, and kinda nothing happened, question mark? I know that we're supposed to continue the story on Ultra Evolution or the June update and stuff, but it's a really weird cliffhanger for me. But regardless of what though, everything that's said and done, I'm really happy that PSO2 kind of went back to take a really dark turn, because Well, first of all, this is not exactly a 1,000 year time skip for us, our characters, because apparently 500 years ago, everyone basically died. So yeah, we're more or less just a carbon copy of our own character from way back then, which is actually really, really cool. That one I totally did not expect, and I think it's a really, really cool way to introduce many more elements of the story and really expand the world. And the whole thing with the new starless enemies, I really wish we got a preview of the enemies. Like, you know how at the very end of episode 5, right, back in Legacy PSO2, we had the whole preview of like, yeah, there's the whole Shiva and Varuna and everything. At least I feel like we should have gotten that small preview and just like this head honcho enemy character that we're supposed to be hunting in June or like whatever, or like what happens. I feel like the way they ended it over here compared to like the ending of episode 5 specifically is like there's literally no... You know how I talked about the whole Naruto Bleach whatever thing earlier, right? Yeah, I feel like the ending of episode 5 and the whole reveal of Shiva, Varna, Mitra and everything, you kind of get like that like preview of the big bad head honcho enemies at the very end of episode 5, and then sure, that gives us a lot of anticipation for episode 6 because we already know, we're already hyped that like, oh, these are going to be our enemies. Sure, we have the whole like thing with the Starless, but we only got to really hear it, right? You know the thing with show and tell. I feel like what SEGA did was they more told than showed. Sure, we have like we saw Zephyr like running into the meteorites and just like slashing them up and everything, and we just go back and everything like that, and it's just like, okay, everything's back to normal. But I feel like that could have just gone one step further, and we could have had a little bit more hype moments, you know? The meetings of like, oh, haha, I'm like the captain of one of the Starless Legions or something like that, and then just like have a really like big encounter, and they're like, oh, we have to go now because whatever, because they also like, yeah, Zephyr also talked about how the Starless literally just disappeared and stuff. Maybe we could have gotten a little bit more of a tease of like, yeah, maybe this is why the Starless can only appear for certain amounts of time, or like where they came from and everything. I just feel like there's so much potential left there to foreshadow the story, or like to really make the players start to think like, oh, what is going on and stuff like that, rather than just leaving off with absolutely nothing. That coupled with me having this small conversation with one of my friends about the whole story, and I'm just like, dude, you know, this whole NGS chapter 5 of episode 1 happened literally because Manon was like, yeah, I saw one completely nameless, faceless, I don't know, generic NPC from Stia die in front of my eyes, and now I just go full hysteric. But then again, I guess it's a bit of a compounding, right? Because the story really started on Eliotown, and that's where Manon kind of just like started, you know, the I'm sick of seeing people die and everything like that, and then you can say the nameless NPC and Stia dying was the straw that broke the camel's back. But yeah, I feel like that's about it. I feel like this thing was a really good addition for NGS because at least now the community can actually have these kinds of discussions and really just appreciate the story more now. And you know what, when we put a different lens on here and just really try to look at the story from multiple perspectives, whether it's slapped on top, whether it's like, you know, randomly just made out of absolutely nowhere, whether it's like absolutely planned and we're just stupid, or like anything of those sorts, right? I feel like having these kinds of stories that are more open-ended and could be a little bit polarizing is really good to have healthy discussions within the community for. I mean, if we look at so many other video games, right, whether it be like even just the mobile gacha games, you know, games like Arknights has a really big world, lore, and story, and people really love talking about them a lot, or people like love to discover a lot of things about like the whole Genshin lore or things of that kind of nature. I feel like just it's always been lacking in this department for PSO2, at least in NGS, right? I feel like there's at least like a lot of these discussions about the whole photoners things and the whole like Shiva, whatever, blah, 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 back in episode 6. But I've never really gotten this feeling for a really long time now, where I'm just really excited to discuss the story of everyone and just like make videos literally actually talking about where the story could go. This is probably the first time I've ever done anything like this, and I love every moment of it. So if you made it this far, let's discuss, okay? let's put it in the comments here. What do we all think would happen from here? Or like, what do we even feel about the entire story? Because I feel like there's a lot of untapped potential here, and it'll be really, really fun to see looking forwards how cool the story is going to be. I love the dark turn, or like how dark the story is going to be even, or like even just like how the presentation is going to continue to be. Because if we're going to go back to space and Ultra Evolution, everyone's going to get a whole overhaul of their outfits, their looks, their gear and everything. And hopefully we actually finally get some really, really real character development, so we can actually not think of the story as like whole of Aina's story and everything. And yeah, that's also one of my biggest complaints ever since NGS started, was like, I feel like this wasn't our story as a character, but this is like Aina and Manon's story. And then even still now, it still kind of feels it holds true. But more so, I feel like we're starting to get back into the fold now, and hopefully the story will focus a little bit more centered towards us now, and we're just gonna see what new characters are gonna come out from Lucille, and or how the story is gonna progress from here. I think it's gonna be very interesting. I think it's gonna be very cool. Ultra Evolution is gonna be awesome. Creative Space is gonna be awesome. June is gonna be good. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be amazing or mind-blowing or great or like holy insane everything like kind of thing, right? But I would like to think that it's going to be really fun, and I'm pretty sure that SEGA has something in store for us. So with that, thank you so much for listening to like my 11-12 minute rant. Well, not really rant, but I guess quote unquote discussion, right? So yeah, let me know how you think and let's discuss that, and happy 2nd anniversary for PSO2 New Genesis. But until then, take care, don't forget to smile, and I'll see you very, very soon.